Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Kamala Harris concedes defeat to Donald Trump. Biden invites Trump to White House for peaceful transition of power. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates President Trump on the spectacular victory, says he looks forward to further strengthening India-US partnership. Germany coalition on edge after Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacks his finance minister, faces snap elections. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu speaks with Donald Trump, discusses Iranian threat. Cuba's national electrical grid collapses as Category 3 Hurricane Rafael makes landfall in Artemisa. And on to the top story now. As Donald Trump won the U.S. presidential election, his Democratic rival Kamala Harris has conceded defeat a day after result of all states came out. U.S. Vice President and Democratic candidate for U.S. presidential race chose Harvard University in Washington, D.C. for her concession speech to accept defeat, a common tradition in U.S. elections. To address the party members, she came with her husband Douglas Craig Emhoff and her running mate Tim Walz. In her concession speech, she accepted the result and said she will continue to pursue the issues she raised during the elections.
It's not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
In her concession speech, she said she had called President-elect Trump, congratulated him on his triumph, and promised to engage in a peaceful transfer of power. She also thanked U.S. President Joe Biden, her running mate Walz, and millions of party workers for their relentless efforts for fighting the election. She urged them not to lose hope and continue the fight for freedom and justice.
Look, I am so proud of the race we ran. And the way we ran it, over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden also called Trump to congratulate the president-elect on his victory and invited him to the White House to discuss transitioning administrations. The meeting is expected to take place very soon. Biden also came out in support of Kamala Harris, saying she's been a tremendous partner and public servant full of integrity, courage and character. He added that Harris will continue the fight with purpose, determination and joy and be a champion for all Americans. Above all, he said that she will continue to be a leader our children will look up to for generations to come as she puts her stamp on America's future. Biden will address the nation on Thursday at 1600 GMT. And in India, Shubhendu Ghosh joins us from Washington, D.C. and Amritpal Singh joins us from Florida. Well, Shubhendu, now that Donald Trump has secured a historic win, what happens next about his presidency?
That's right. Donald Trump is now the president-elect after the historic win, and he's set to become the next president of the United States of America. But his formal oath-taking and inauguration is going to take time, actually more than a couple of months from now. Let's look at the processes that will be followed till his inauguration. First, the votes, but some counting is still on, but for the rest of the November and the first week of December, all votes that have been counted are going to be verified, particularly the postal ballots. Any legal challenges will have to be sorted out. Thereafter, the head of the American states, which usually is the governor, is going to bring the electors together. Remember, it's not the popular vote that elects and chooses the US president, is the electoral college vote. So now officially that electoral college votes process will come into play. Once the electors are put together, end of December this year, under the watch of the governor, these electors are going to cast their votes, which would be similar to the numbers that we're looking at the screens now. And 6th of January next year, 2025, is when the House of Representatives is going to assemble. That's when they're going to count the electoral college votes and announce the name of the new president, who is Donald Trump, as we know, through the unofficial counting that we've done already. 20th of January is traditionally the date by when his presidency will be inaugurated. He will take oath and enter the White House. So it's a long-drawn process for him to officially become the next president of United States of America. A lot of other processes will begin. The transition process will start, meanwhile, quite soon. For Joe Biden to help the team of Donald Trump for the transition to happen. They will be coordinating, different team members will be coordinating. Donald Trump would be putting his team together so that after the inauguration of his presidency, he can come into action about his vision and plan immediately. So that's broadly the process that will be followed till Donald Trump becomes the next president of the United States.
All right. If we talk about India-US relations, Amrit, Prime Minister Modi congratulated Donald Trump. What all was discussed and how would it lend a new strength to the India-US partnership once he takes office?
That's right. Narendra Modi was one of the first world leaders to call up Donald Trump and to congratulate him. Later posted on X saying that I congratulated my friend Donald Trump on a spectacular victory, discussed the India-US relationship and how we need to take it further. As you know, the India-US relationship is a long-standing relationship which stands on its own legs. The personal chemistry that exists between Donald Trump and Narendra Modi will add new vigor to the relationship. It is a special comprehensive strategic partnership that the two nations have had for quite some time now, and the cooperation is in a wider range of areas. So I think once Donald Trump takes over office, Prime Minister Modi's interest would be that this partnership is strengthened further, be it in areas of technology, defense, space, energy, and even more areas like emerging technologies. Try to get a kind of convergence on global issues that face the world today, including the two wars that are going on. So I think the two sides would want to work together, closely together, though honestly it doesn't really make much of a difference who sits in the White House, because the relationship, as I said, stands on its own legs. But of course, when two leaders are on the same page, it gives a renewed vigor to the relationship, and the two would want to capitalize on that.
All right. Thank you so much, Shubhendu and Amrit, for all those details. And moving on, Donald Trump's victory has surprised many, but has shocked too many. Right from international institutions to domestic clienteles, all are keeping the fingers crossed over significant impact his second coming may have. Take this report by DD India's Akhilesh Suman on what is in the offing for the world with Trump presidency.
As Trump returns to the White House, the issue of illegal immigration is grabbing the headlines everywhere. This has been a pivotal issue during campaigning, and Donald Trump is expected to walk the talk when he assumes the charge. That would potentially mean renewed focus on immigrants and many deportation drives. A second term might mean a return to stringent curbs and of the border wall initiatives.
We are finally going to build up our country We're going to defend our borders, and we are going to protect our citizens. We are going to protect our land. We are going to protect our country. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun.
Trump has traditionally focused on tax cuts, deregulation, and a pro-business approach. A victory could see renewed tax relief, particularly for corporations and higher income groups, along with efforts to reduce government regulation, especially in industries like energy and manufacturing. Trump may also push for policies aimed at reshoring manufacturing jobs, focusing on America First principles to reduce reliance on imports. Donald Trump is also likely to target parts of the Affordable Care Act, popularly known as Obamacare, aiming to reduce government involvement in healthcare. While he did not fully repeal it in his first term, he may attempt new modifications or alternative healthcare measures. Trump may also prioritize law and order policies, echoing themes from his first term, which focused on supporting police and enacting strict measures against crime. Trump in his first term did not recognize climate change and global warming as big relevant issues. In his second term, he may reverse climate-focused policies of the United States and push for increased fossil fuel production. In his first term, the US withdrew from the Paris COP21 climate accords. European Union and NATO might be a bit skeptical about the impact of Trump's second presidency. Trump may renew pressure on NATO members to increase their financial contributions, with the possibility of scaling back US involvement. Trump might revisit and renegotiate agreements with key partners like the European Union, Canada, and Mexico, emphasizing terms seeking concessions for American industries and workers. Trump is also likely to maintain tough stance on Iran, possibly reviving maximum pressure tactics to curb Iran's regional influence and nuclear ambitions. And lastly, the UN officials are also skeptical about support from the US in their financial and logistical burdens, including the peacekeeping operations worldwide. Trump in his first term slashed US contributions to the UN peacekeeping budget and to key UN agencies like the World Health Organization and UNESCO. However, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that he was ready to work with the US President-elect Donald Trump while congratulating him on his election as the US President. Akhilesh Suman's report for TD India.
Besides, world leaders have been congratulating Donald Trump for capping a stunning political comeback. The leaders of Australia and New Zealand extended greetings, saying they would look to strengthen their cooperation with the US in their region, including the AUKUS deal.
I look forward to talking with President Trump and working with him in the interests of both of our nations. President Trump has run a campaign based on change, and he's made it clear he's going to do things differently. So we shouldn't be surprised as things change, but equally we should be really confident in ourselves and our place in the world as well, and our ability to deliver on our interests together as Australians.
While China hopes for peaceful coexistence with the United States, especially in the backdrop of Trump's pledge to impose an additional 60% import tariff on Chinese products. Meanwhile, Taiwanese president has asked the Taiwan representative office in the United States to send a congratulatory letter to US President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. And Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba too held a phone call with US President-elect Donald Trump. Ishiba said the two leaders had agreed to organize a face-to-face meeting as soon as possible. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol also held a telephonic call with US President-elect Donald Trump and discussed continuing close ties across all areas in security and economic fields. Yoon and Trump shared concerns over North Korea's deployment of troops backing Russia in the war against Ukraine and Pyongyang's continued military provocations, including ballistic missile launches. Meanwhile, even though Trump is set to become 47th president of the United States, the final results are yet to come. Trump has so far secured 294 electoral votes, while Harris has captured 223. Final calls have yet to be made by two outlets in Arizona, Maine and Nevada. Trump has been declared the winner in more than half of the 50 U.S. states, including key battleground Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan and Wisconsin, all of which voted Democratic in the last election. Well, Donald Trump's election victory not only catapults him back to the White House, but grants him a reprieve from looming court battles and legal bills. Justice Department officials have been evaluating how to wind down the two federal criminal cases against President-elect Donald Trump before he takes office. Special counsel Jack Smith is already in talks with Justice Department officials about winding down the cases. The move was being taken in light of the long-standing Justice Department policy that a sitting U.S. president cannot be indicted or criminally prosecuted. Trump pledged during the election campaign against Vice President Kamala Harris to fire Smith within 2 seconds of taking office. Us president does not have the authority to dismiss a special counsel, but Trump could name an attorney general who could do so. Smith, who was appointed by Joe Biden's attorney general, brought 2 cases against Trump for conspiring to overturn the results of the 2020 election and for mishandling top secret documents after leaving the White House. And anger and soul-searching took hold of the Democratic Party after the massive defeat. The nature of a loss has some Democrats asking questions about the future of the party. The sharpest criticism contained accusations that the party had lied to its supporters about President Joe Biden's mental fitness until a disastrous TV debate with Trump in June raised alarm bells and ultimately led to the president exiting the race. Democrats say they could have won with someone who broke from him, offered different policies, and presented as a candidate of change. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also spoke with Donald Trump to congratulate the Republican leader on his U.S. presidential election victory. Netanyahu's office said in a statement that the conversation was warm and cordial. The statement added that the two leaders discussed the Iranian threat and the need to work together for Israel's security. Earlier in a tweet, Netanyahu had said that Trump's historic return to the White House offers a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. Meanwhile, days after Israel notified UN it is cancelling agreement regulating UNRWA operations, the United Nations said that replacing it would be Israel's responsibility. The UN formally responded in a letter to Israel's decision to cut ties, a move that UNRWA has said leaves its operations in Gaza and the West Bank at risk of collapse. Under a new law, Israel told on Sunday it was ending a 1967 cooperation agreement with UNRWA that covered its protection, movement and diplomatic immunity. The law will also ban UNRWA's operations in Israel from late January. Netanyahu has accused UNRWA for anti-Israeli incitement and involvement in October 7th attack, which triggered conflict. Well, Ukraine too had a phone call with Trump during which they agreed to maintain close dialogue and advance cooperation. President Zelensky said strong and unwavering U.S. leadership is vital for the world and for a just peace. He added that people today want confidence, they want freedom, and they want a normal life. For us, that means a life free from Russian aggression with a strong America, a strong Ukraine, and strong allies. Trump has always been a sharp critic of the scale of U.S. military and financial support for Kyiv and vowed to end the conflict with Russia. Trump's victory over Harris raises questions over the future of U.S. support, which has so far been key to Ukraine's survival against Russia. Some Ukrainian political analysts believe that Trump will likely push for swift talks to end the ongoing conflict. They also predict that U.S. aid under Trump would change from grants to something more akin to a loan. Well, how Trump responds to Russia's conflict with Ukraine could set the tone for his agenda and signal how he will deal with NATO and key U.S. allies. He's been critical of Biden's support for Ukraine and said that under his presidency, the U.S. would fundamentally rethink NATO's purpose. Trump, who has railed for years against NATO members that failed to meet agreed military spending targets, warned during the campaign that he would not only refuse to defend nations delinquent on funding, but would encourage Russia to act as suitable. Well, the German government has collapsed after the Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacked his finance minister Christian Lindner and paved the way for a snap election. Scholz cited persistent disagreements with finance minister for the breakdown of his centre-left coalition. In a televised address, Scholz said he has dismissed finance minister Christian Lindner, saying it was necessary to prevent harm to Germany.
We need a government that is able to act, that has the strength to make the necessary decisions for our country. That's what was important to me in the past 3 years. That's what's important to me now.
Well, Scholz said he would now call a confidence vote on January 15th, which could allow elections to be held by the end of March next year.
In the very first week of the parliamentary session in the new year, I will call for the confidence vote so that the Bundestag can then vote on it on January 15th. That way, parliamentarians can decide if they want to pave the way for a snap election. That election could then take place at the latest by the end of March, while respecting the rules of the Constitution.
Well, sacked German Finance Minister Christian Lindner blamed Olaf Scholz for leading Germany into a phase of uncertainty.
Olaf Scholz hat leider gezeigt,
Unfortunately, Olaf Scholz has shown he does not have the strength to give his country a new boost. Instead, the Chancellor gave me an ultimatum to suspend the constitutional debt brake. I could not do that because I would have been breaking my oath of office. Therefore, in the meeting of the Coalition Committee this evening, the Chancellor has terminated the cooperation with me and the FDF. His carefully prepared statement from tonight proves that Olaf Scholz is no longer aiming for an agreement sustainable for everyone, but rather a calculated break of this coalition. With this, he is leading Germany into a phase of uncertainty.
Well, following the announcement, Lindner's Free Democratic Party said it had left the coalition, but Economy Minister Robert Habeck said the Greens would remain.
Germany will have a new decision to make for the next government coalition. Until then, we remain in office and we are firmly committed to fully fulfilling the duties of office, providing stability from within the government, which Germany can and must offer Europe.
Well, Ireland plans to hold a general election on November 29th, formally kicking off a truncated campaign which will last mere weeks. Even thought Prime Minister Simon Harris had until the end of the coalition's 5-year term in March to go to the polls, but with the announcement, he seems to take the advantage of favourable poll numbers and a slump in support for scandals hit main opposition party Sinn Féin. The $11.6 billion budget giveaway in early October was also seen as putting the country on an election footing. Well, moving on, weeks after having witnessed presidential election, Sri Lanka is now poised to conduct parliamentary elections next week. The election was necessitated as President Anurakkumara Dissanayake dissolved the outgoing 225-member parliament days after assuming office. Sri Lanka follows a proportionate representation model through electoral districts and national list through which members are elected to the parliament. The Election Commission has said that all preparations are in place for a smooth conduct of the polls in the entire island. And Hurricane Rafael has slammed into Cuba as a Category 3 storm before losing some strength as it passed over the island and entered the Gulf of Mexico. The hurricane, which caused power outages in multiple regions, is the 5th major hurricane of the year in the Atlantic and the strongest this late in the year since 2020. According to the U.S. National Hurricane Center, Rafael is expected to bring storm surges, flash flooding and mudslides. Amid the outages, 9 provinces in the west and central central Cuba, including the capital Havana, have been placed on cyclone alert. Over 70,000 people have been evacuated from their homes. This is the second blow from a hurricane in Cuba in recent weeks. Hurricane Oscar walloped Cuba in late October, killing at least 7 people. The country's power grid has collapsed multiple times and millions were left without power for 4 days following a blackout. Well, Australia has joined the list of countries that have vowed to curb social media use by children through legislation. But in Australia's case, its policy is one of the most stringent in the world. Australian PM Anthony Albanese said the government would legislate for a ban on social media for children under 16, citing the risk to physical and mental health of children from excessive use.
Other people that go to your school and it's like a bit like, oh my god, I need to be like them, I need to post more, I need to get likes and stuff like that. I get really irritated when I have more followers, but then I follow more people.
Australia has unveiled one of the world's strictest social media restrictions for children. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced that the government will introduce legislation banning social media use for children under 16 years of age.
Now, government's proposed age is 16. That decision was made in Cabinet on Monday. And that proposal will go to the National Cabinet meeting that I'm convening online, a virtual meeting tomorrow morning. The onus will be on, just to go through some of the details, the onus will be on social media platforms to demonstrate they are taking reasonable steps to prevent access. The onus won't be on parents or young people. There will be no penalties for users.
Australia is trialling an age verification system with the restriction potentially in place by the end of 2025. Albanese justified the move by citing concerns over social media's harmful effect on children's mental and physical health. The ban will apply to all children, regardless of parental consent or existing accounts. The new law will target major platforms like Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, X, which was formerly Twitter, and YouTube. Australia's policy places it at the forefront of global efforts to protect children online. While France proposed a similar ban for those under 15 years last year, with parental consent as a workaround, the US has for long required parental approval for children under 13 years of age. A similar bill is to be presented in the British Parliament, with main provisions including raising the age of internet adulthood from 13 to 16. If successful, Australia's approach could serve as a model for other countries trying to address the risks of social media for kids. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come in DD India News Hour. India's External Affairs Minister meets CEOs and business leaders in Sydney on last day of his 5-day Australia visit. India's President Draupadi Murmu on board aircraft carrier INS Vikrant to attend a at-sea event in Goa.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. Lipakshi Kurana, time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Kamala Harris concedes defeat to Donald Trump. Biden invites Trump to White House for peaceful transition of power. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates President Trump on the spectacular victory, says he looks forward to further strengthening India-US partnership. Germany coalition on edge after Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacks as finance minister, faces snap elections. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu speaks with Donald Trump, discusses Iranian threat. And Cuba's national electrical grid collapses as Category 3 Hurricane Rafael makes landfall in Artemisa. While India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is on a 5-day visit to Australia, where he began the last day today with meeting CEOs and business leaders in Sydney, where he underlined ongoing transformations in India and digital infrastructure, manufacturing and skilling. Jaishankar also highlighted natural complementarities between both the countries to support each other's growth. He added that the robust business and investment linkages between the two are key drivers of the comprehensive strategic partnership. And the second meeting of the India CARICOM Joint Commission was held in virtual mode on Wednesday. The Joint Commission reviewed the entire spectrum of relations between India and CARICOM, including economic and commercial, agriculture, health and pharmaceuticals, energy and infrastructure, technology and innovation, human resource and capacity building, culture and people-to-people exchange. Both sides deliberated on strengthening economic cooperation, enhancing trade and fostering a robust partnership in various areas, including education, digital public infrastructure, renewable energy and science and technology. Well, India's President Draupadi Murmu will embark on the indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant and witness naval operations at sea off Goa on Thursday. This is maiden sailing of the President Murmu on board aircraft carrier INS Vikrant to witness the full spectrum of multi-domain naval operations. The Day at Sea event will demonstrate the operational capabilities of the Indian Navy combatants, including a glimpse of the flying operations from the INS Vikrant. And India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal said that the event reflects the India vision story and unifies the entire mobility value chain under a single umbrella. Goyal was addressing the curtain raiser event for the Bharat Mobility Expo in New Delhi on Wednesday. He also unveiled the event film and brochure for the expo. Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025 is the world's second largest mobility show. The expo's theme is Beyond Boundaries, co-creating the future of the automotive value chain. The event is scheduled to be held from 17 to 22nd of January 2025 across 3 separate venues, which are Bharat Mandapam, Yashobhumi and India Expo Center and Mart. It is going to be spread across more than 200,000 square meters, playing host to over 9 shows and 500,000 visitors. And India's Culture and Tourism Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat attended the World Travel Market in London on Wednesday. The Indian Tourism and Culture Minister expressed happiness on attending the event. In a social media post, Shekhawat said, "The World Travel Market is an excellent platform for engaging with global travel industry leaders, exploring new destinations and showcasing India's diverse tourism offerings." India is participating in the 3-day event with the aim of boosting inbound tourism and promoting the country as a top global travel destination. The Indian minister also held bilateral meetings with France, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain leaders, where the leaders discussed various tourism-related issues. Well, delegates at the International Solar Alliance were introduced to India's innovative agrovoltaics model, blending agriculture with solar energy. Visiting a farm near Delhi, they saw how India is maximizing use of food and energy. This approach highlights India's commitment to sustainable growth and balanced development. Take a look.
Delegates at the International Solar Alliance recently experienced India's innovative approach to sustainability. They visited an agrivoltaics farm on the outskirts of New Delhi in Najafgarh. Managed by the India Agrivoltaics Alliance, this farm demonstrates India is blending agriculture with solar energy production to address its growing need for sustainable practices. Agrivoltaics is a dual-use system where solar panels are elevated to allow crops to grow beneath them. This approach maximizes land usage by combining agriculture and energy production. The panels are mounted on raised structures with walkways which enable easy maintenance while allowing uninterrupted farming activities. Crops like cabbage are grown between the panel rows using interspace cropping to optimize land. Advanced software plays a role here too, modeling light and shade patterns to ensure crops receive right amount of sunlight, crucial for yield.
You continue producing the food and you're also producing energy. And I've actually been discussing with him and saying, but I think you could even do better. For example, if you used hydroponics, so where you can have different levels of crop, and that would reduce the time you actually take to recoup the money. So it is an appropriate technology. When properly used, you can actually, it's also employing a number of people. It's producing food, it's producing energy, it's employing people, and then it fades into its other enterprise.
India faces a delicate balancing act between food security and energy needs. With food demand expected to rise sharply by 2050, the need for farmland is pressing. At the same time, the land required for solar and wind power to reach net zero goals is immense. In the pursuit of sustainability, India's innovative agri-voltaics approach offers a promising path by carefully balancing food and energy needs. India can lead the way in sustainable growth, setting an example for the world in achieving food security and energy independence. With camera person Gaurav Giri, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Najafgarh, Delhi.
Well, the four-day Chhath celebrations are underway in many parts of India with religious fervour and gaiety. The devotees will offer prayers to the setting sun at riverbanks or ponds on Thursday, followed by another round of prayers to the rising sun on the final day on Friday. This ritual is a symbol of thanking the sun for its life-giving energy. With the completion of this ritual, the 36-hour fast concludes and devotees celebrate the end of their Chhath Puja observance. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The Indian Railways achieved a remarkable feat by transporting 6.5 million passengers on 4,521 special trains in last 36 days. These additional services have played a crucial role in facilitating smooth travel during the ongoing Durga Puja, Diwali and Chhath Puja celebrations. Indian Railways achieved a historic milestone, transporting over 30 million passengers in a single day on 4th of November to meet festive season demand. Indian Railways is now preparing for the anticipated return rush beginning November 8th with the ending of Chhath Puja festival. A Tibetan artist collective unveiled its second annual group exhibition titled Unsettled at Buddha's Abode in McLeodganj, Dharamshala, showcasing the dynamic works of 20 Tibetan exile artists from across the globe. Exhibition underway till November 16th brings together artists from countries as diverse as Nepal, Singapore, Canada and India, each contributing a unique perspective on Tibetan identity, displacement and the human journey of belonging. Russian scientists recently showcased scientific achievements at the Nauka O Positive Festival. This year, the festival themed Science Around Us is part of the international program for the Decade of Science and Technology. Visitors can try controlling robotic dogs and underwater robots, test their knowledge of history, politics, geology and other scientific fields. Dilwara Jain Temple in West India's Mount Abu lit with the light of thousands of lamps to commemorate the 2551st Nirvana Day of Lord Mahavir Swami. As per the Jain text, Lord Mahavir was born in 541 BC and attained moksha in 469 BC at the age of 72 at Pavapuri in Nalanda district in Bihar. His life as a spiritual light and the night of his Nirvana are commemorated by Jains as Diwali. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian government has taken two significant decisions on education and economy front. Indian chess master Arjun Agassi continues a strong form at the ongoing Chennai Grandmasters 2024. And Thai people got the opportunity to see the most beautiful ship in the world as it docked in Phuket until Sunday. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana and on to some business news now. Indian government has taken two significant decisions on Wednesday in the field of education and economy. The government has approved the Prime Minister Vidya Lakshmi scheme to provide financial support to meritorious students. Under the scheme, students will be eligible to get collateral-free and guarantor-free loans to pursue higher education. Further, the scheme has been introduced so that financial constraints do not prevent any youth of India from pursuing quality higher education. The government also approved infusion of equity of 10,700 crore rupees for working capitals in financial year 2024-25 in Food Corporation of India. This will further boost the agricultural sector and ensure the welfare of farmers nationwide. This strategic move shows the government's steadfast commitment to supporting farmers and fortifying India's agrarian economy. And the U.S. Federal Reserve will announce its new benchmark interest rate decision on Thursday after holding deliberations for the latest monetary policy decisions. Wall Street experts and economists widely expect the U.S. Fed Chair Jerome Powell-led rate-setting a panel to reduce the benchmark policy rate after delivering its first rate cut since 2020 in September 2024. The U.S. federal fund rate currently sits at 4.75% to 5% after the rate-setting panel slashed its benchmark rate by 50 basis points or half a percentage point during the 6th U.S. Fed policy meeting for 2024. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. The Indian Premier League 2025 mega auction is going to be held on November 24th and 25th in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The event, scheduled at the Abadi Al Johor Arena, marks the second consecutive year the auction has moved overseas, following Dubai's hosting in 2024. A total of 1,165 Indian and 409 overseas have signed up for the mega auction. The list includes 320 capped players, 1,224 uncapped players and 30 players from associate nations. An official IPL release confirmed. Indian Ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Dr. Suhail Ajaz Khan, welcomed the development, describing it as a historic first for Saudi-India relations. Ambassador added that hosting the auction in Jeddah would not only showcase Saudi Arabia's emergence as a global sports and entertainment destination, but also boost cricket's development within the kingdom. Well, Indian batters KL Rahul and Dhruv Jurel have been officially added to the India A squad for the second first-class game against Australia A, starting on Thursday in Melbourne. Rahul and Jurel left for Australia early to join the India A squad in a bid to get some match practice ahead of the start of the Border Gavaskar series on November 22nd in Perth. Earlier, Prasidh Krishna was added to the squad as a replacement for Yash Dayal, who was named in India's T20 international squad for the tour of South Africa. And stunning centuries from Kiasi Carty and Brandon King steered West Indies to an 8-wicket victory over England in the third ODI in Barbados, winning the series 2-1. Carty blitzed his way to his maiden international ton in 97 balls and remained unbeaten on 128, while King made his third ODI century in 113 balls. England batted first with a fine 74 from opener Phil Salt, helping the tourists recover from 24 for 4 to post a respectable 263 for 8. Late flurry of 38 runs from the bat of fast bowler Jofra Archer also helped their cause. With Jos Buttler returning as captain, England will hope to regroup as they prepare for a 5-match T20 series which begins at the same venue on Saturday. And Arjun Arigasi continued his strong start to the Chennai Grand Masters 2024 on Wednesday by holding American Grandmaster Levon Aronian to a draw. Playing with the white places, Arjun Arigasi kicked things off with the Queen's Pawn opening, met by Levon Aronian's response in the Indian game. The two Grandmasters exchanged tactical maneuvers and strategic depth, pushing each other through every phase of the game before ultimately settling for a hard-fought draw. Meanwhile, in the challengers category, Pranesh M and Karthikeyan Murali settled into a balanced draw, while Leon Mendonca impressed with a strong victory over Harika Dronavali. Well, Josh Inglis will step in as captain for Australia's third one-day international against Pakistan in the subsequent T20 series. He's been chosen over senior players such as Glenn Maxwell, Adam Zampa and Marcus Stoinis to lead the side in the absence of regular captain. Pat Cummins, the ODI skipper, will be rested for the final one-day in Perth, along with test regulars Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith. Well, British charity Riding for the Disabled Association, with motto "It's what you can do to counts," is transforming lives in the UK through horseback riding. The charity helps youngsters like 9-year-old Eli Dimitri Jevic and thousands of other children with needs that make them feel at home.
Today, we look at how horseback riding is transforming lives in the UK. The Riding for the Disabled Association has been a lifeline for countless people with disabilities, including Paralympic gold medalist Natasha Baker, who credits the RDA for her incredible success.
Oh, you're such a good boy. You know, there's so many possibilities that you don't even know that exist. And the RDA know all of them. They know all of the tricks of the trade. You know, anybody can get on a horse, no matter who you are, no matter what needs you have. They have a way to get you on board and to be able to have that really special time of being on a horse. And disabilities and
Baker, who lost feeling in her legs due to a neurological condition, controls her horses entirely by voice. This unique technique helped her earn 10 Paralympic medals, including 6 golds across 4 games.
I definitely think we need to gel this. I feel so incredibly privileged to have been to 4 Paralympic Games, to have represented my country 4 times at Paralympics and all of the Europeans and World Championships. And, you know, if it wasn't for the RDA, there's no way I would have achieved what I've achieved. And that's a lovely smiley face.
But Baker isn't alone in her journey. 9-year-old El Dimitrievich, who has cerebral palsy, has also found a new lease of life through the RDA.
He can't sneeze on you now because you're up there.
Yeah. She's just generally found somewhere that makes her feel at home. I think with children especially, it's quite difficult to find people who understand your needs and understand that you might not work the same way and that you need some additional support with things.
I'm Elle, I'm 9 years old, and today I am riding Dougie.
It's really fun because you can like pet them, you can say hi, and like the people here are like very funny and welcoming.
Elle's story echoes across the 450 RDA centres across the UK, where over 13,000 volunteers give their time and energy to make this transformative experience possible.
I love show jumping. I saw it, I think at Windsor Horse Show was my first time. And I fell in love straight away. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I still do after doing a bit of show jumping, and it is my dream to be international one day.
The positive impact of the RDA extends to families, providing comfort and relief in their daily lives. As the RDA prepares to be the charity partner for this year's London International Horse Show, it's clear they are making a difference. One ride, one smile, and one story at a time.
And before we wind up this edition of News Hour, we take you to Thailand, where the pride of the Italian Navy, Amerigo Vespucci, is now docked in Phuket until Sunday for public viewing. The magnificent vessel, which arrived in Phuket yesterday, is halfway through its second world tour, visiting 32 countries over 2 years. Its next stop will be Mumbai, India. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. Lipakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.